I've been in dogs since 1991. We breed dogs that we want to train. I was out here in western Nebraska riding Harleys and training dogs. I don't sugarcoat anything, and if you don't like it, tough.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Flatlander Kennels podcast with Chris Jobman. We've missed a few weeks as Chris has been off training, going to the Master National. So we've missed a few weeks, and we apologize for that. But we are happy to be here recording for you again on this episode. We're going to talk about, just do kind of a catch up and what's been going on, what happened at the Master National, how things went in the upcoming Grand, and answer some Q&A questions that we got from the Facebook group over there. So if you want to be involved in submitting questions, that's where you need to go. The Flatlander Kennels Facebook group. We have a great group of people over there, and we love to answer Q&A questions. So head on over and join us for a lot more content over there. How are you doing today, Chris?
Hey, buddy. How are you? Long time no talk.
Yeah, it's been a while. I don't know. It's been like a month and a half. It seems maybe even 2 months.
No, it's been great, huh?
Yeah, it is. Well, it's been great that I've been hunting. That's been great.
Well, yeah. You get to do that right now. I don't get to do that.
But I had to start back to my job. So there's a summer Elliot, and then there's the rest of the year Elliot. And summer Elliot's like carefree, happy, relaxed. And then once my work starts back, it's like that person dies.
Trust me, mine's died a long time ago. I get it.
Permanently dead.
I get it.
I think that side of you opens up during hunting season where you kind of like totally decompress and
yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, yes and no. Hunting season has its own stresses too,
Yeah.
But
well, I am at 10 hunts, 32 ducks harvested. I've killed 18 blue wings, 7 green wings, and 7 wood ducks. Actually, next weekend, I've got a big Nebraska trip planned. I'm not going to say exactly where it was, but because I went and scouted it after I was hanging out.
Yeah, I know. I want me to tell everybody where it's at.
No, don't do that. But we've got these great cold fronts coming in. It's going to be a hell of a trip. I'm so excited about that trip. It's going to be so much fun.
Good. But yeah, so you're pounding on the teal or what?
Yeah, the 25 or 26 teal, 7 wood ducks. We had a decent teal season. We had the last teal hunt was incredible because we just so happened to hit an overnight migration. Like the north wind started about a half an hour before sunrise. And as sun came up, you could see massive groups of teal just migrating in. And,
really?
I've never been on a migration day for teal like that. Big, mostly green wings. So everything we shot was big old wads, and it was it was fun. Phenomenal. Yeah,
that would be fun.
And it went from like muggy and nasty when we got there to that north wind hit, and it went to feeling like a duck hunt because it was cloudy, like 15-mile-an-hour winds. Oh, it was incredible.
That's good. Well, I've actually never teal hunted, so I wouldn't know. I'm too busy working.
Those big wads of blue wings that's what I love so much about blue wing teal specifically, because if you get it right, you're getting like groups of 15 to 50 and they're banking around.
Yeah, that's fun.
Oh yeah, it is a blast. So it was a good season. I averaged about 3.5 birds a hunt. So I had some hunts that weren't great, but overall it was great. It was a good season.
Good I saw there's a group of teal running around the kennel right now. I see them every day. There are about 10 of them.
At some point in time, I'm going to be knocking on your door and being like, Mr. Jobman, would you mind if I teal hunt your property?
You would be disappointed, probably.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt it. I know you have teal out there. I've talked to your boys out there. I know
our other place has got a bunch of teal. The creek, we call it the creek. It's got a bunch, but we didn't obviously shoot them. But
yeah,
we're saving that for the first club hunt.
Anyone out there? Any of your guys out there do any teal hunting at all, or no?
No, I don't think anybody went this year. That's the first. They usually go to the creek and beat up on them pretty good, but this is the first year nobody's ever gone.
Yeah.
So
everybody's busy around there.
Yeah, we're just got back from the Master National not too long ago, and that was quite the trip. And then we're getting ready to do the Grand now. I leave on Monday morning early for the Grand. So, but the we'll recap the Master National a little bit. And it wasn't the best experience. I'm sure if you talk to a lot of other people out there, it was, I'm going to try to be try to be nice here, I guess that you would say. It wasn't my best experience I had. It's probably one of the worst experiences I've had in 25 years as being a dog trainer, to be honest with you.
Wow.
But there's a lot of tension at the National coming from some of the people running the Master National. I think it put a lot of burden on some of the judges and stake marshals and site coordinators. And there was a lot of tension amongst the ranks of the powers to be, which I think it really in turn hurt us as handlers on some of the decisions that were made, whether to carry dogs or pass dogs or not carry dogs or not pass dogs. So let's just say it wasn't what I wanted it to be by no means. And I'm going to leave it at that.
So is it fair to say that the standards were different on this Master National than normal?
Very inconsistent. Ours were very, very inconsistent. We had dogs getting dropped. We're like, why? They had a hunt and a quick handle, they'd be dropped, or they had a handle, they'd be. It was just inconsistent. And I've been around the game long enough that I know when a dog should be dropped or a dog's on the bubble. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of our bubble dogs that were on the bubble didn't pass. Mm-hmm. So what are we really in it for? Are we in it for the dogs? Are we in it for a low pass rate? Or I guess we just need to be, everybody needs to decide what they're in it for. But without getting into a whole bunch of it, we passed 9 dogs. I'm happy with that. We got 2 new MNHs, Maverick Hassel and Blitz Maggart, are fantastic dogs. They got their MNHs. Our own Pearl, she just got her MNH 6. So that was her 6th pass. That was really nice. And we made 4 new MNRs. Charlie Hassel, Ozzie Thompson, Granger Ghost, and Red, who we own Red, which is Georgie's brother. Got his second Master National pass.
Beautiful.
And Ruger Nickel and Buster Newman got their very first pass. So I was proud of all them dogs. I wish we could have had more on there, but a lot of that stuff was out of our control. So and another one. So Red and Georgie's sister, Linda, who is Amber Everett's dog, who is a Greyhound, they're just 5 years old. She got her 4th Master National pass.
Good grief.
It's insane. Yeah. She's a Grand Retriever champion, MNH 4 already, and they're just 5. So, congratulations to her. That's phenomenal animal. But, the thing about the Master National was this year the tests were really well designed. The previous year, some of the tests were a little bit iffy on their design, but this year the tests were really well designed. They had good bird placement. There was no tricks, none of that sort of thing. And overall, the tests were good. It's just the delivery of it was to be desired. So,
right.
I'm going to leave it at that. But anyway, we are getting ready to go to the Grand. It starts on the 19th of October. We're taking 20. Well, it's going to take 26, but now we have 25 because if anybody follows Grant Hatch on Facebook, Peach is in heat. So he's let the entire Facebook world know Peach is in heat. So Peach won't be going to the Grand. She's going to be bred, and she's running for her title, which is a bummer. So now we're going to take 25. And before I get too far, I need to thank somebody. I need to thank Dave, Captain America Marsteller. He took off the time of work. So to go to the Master National, I need to take 2 trucks and 2 trailers. And he took off the time of work, and he drove my other truck and trailer, and he helped me take care of all them dogs, feed and water, plus running his dog, the whole 9 yards. And I couldn't have done it without Dave. He was a workhorse, and it was really fun having him part of the group. He may never talk to me again, but it was a lot of work. But we got along good and gave each other a lot of hell. But we had a good time, and I really need to thank Dave Marsteller for all the work that he did to help us out down there. It was fun. I enjoyed having him around.
Did he run any of his dogs?
Yeah, he ran his dog named Maddie, who went out in the third, I think.
Oh,
Around
that's
the
too
third
bad.
series. But I
Mhm.
mean, she ran good, and that was Dave's first time going to the line at a national event, and the nerves are a little bit different, and the standards are a little bit different, but he did a really nice job of handling her. And I'm actually taking her to the Grand, so that'll be her first shot at the Grand. So she's a really nice dog, and but he did a good job with her. It just didn't work out for him this time, but.
Right.
But
So
anyway,
when did you get back? How long you been back for? About a week or
I
two?
got home I want to say Thursday. I got home last Thursday or Wednesday night late or Thursday.
Mhm.
Wednesday night, I think maybe. Yeah, Wednesday night I got home. So we drove all the way from Paducah, Kentucky to here with 2 trucks or 2 trailers all in one shot. Then Dave had to leave here and go to Cheyenne that night, and then he was at work the next day.
Oh my gosh! How far of a drive is that for you guys from Kentucky? That's got to be 20 hours.
Drive time, no. A drive time is about 15 hours.
Okay.
But it took us, 16, 17 with like stopping air dogs and taking care of the whole crew. And then he had to turn around, drive to Cheyenne, and go to work the next day. So he's a warrior. But
can you tell me? I've always been curious about this with those big trailers with that many dogs. What is the airing process or schedule? How many times do you have to air them, and how does that work?
Well, it took us 15, 16, 17 hours to get here. We only aired once. So those dogs are all older dogs. So we got up in the morning, we aired them really good, and then we took off. And we got all the way into Nebraska before we aired them the first time, give them water, air them, let them run around. Those bigger dogs like that, they're easy. Some of them have some stomach issues because they get nervous on the road or they get anxious or they just get uptight and anxious. And so some of them dogs you got to air a little bit more. But
they can handle a good 7.5 hours. And
well, how long does Georgie sleep in your house at night in one shot?
Longer than
Yeah,
that.
it's the same thing. They just air them good, and they lay down. They just ball up and go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
They literally just lay down and go to sleep, and as long as it's not too hot or something, they're doing just fine. They got water buckets in there, and they do pretty good. I mean, they really do. Then when we stop and air, we got to air them in waves. It's an hour process. By the time it's all find a place to air and air them, and it's about an hour process. The biggest thing about airing dogs on the road, it is literally the most stressful thing in the history of the world. I hate it because there's so many variables that you can't control. I mean, you got to be really careful, whether they run over to a mud hole or, get into trash or eat something or hit by a car. Or, I mean, it's so stressful. And I mean, it's just so stressful.
And finding a good place to do it's probably annoying.
It is. And I'll be honest with you. If I can't find a good place to air, I just assume let them pee in the trailer because that's, I hate to say that, but that's the safest thing to do because you don't want to get hit by a car or run off or something happen to them. So if you don't have a safe place to air, they're just going to have to hold it and you'll just have to deal with it later because, safety is the number one thing. So it just is what it is.
So you said you guys leave the 19th?
I leave on Monday morning and the Grand starts on the 19th. And we're going to St. Louis, just outside of St. Louis and Bush Wildlife Area. We've been there a couple times. I think one of the questions, the last time we were there was 2020. So we're heading back and it's a decent facility to have it in. It's hopefully the roads. Well, another thing about the Master National that made it so miserable for everybody too was the rain. We had that first hurricane came up and we didn't run for one whole day because it was sideways rain the entire time. So after that, everything was muddy, messy, stuck. People were getting stuck and it wasn't much fun with the weather. So hopefully that holds off for the Grand and we don't have that problem at the Grand because it's miserable when it's like that.
I think it's supposed to be really nice weather that weekend.
I'm sure it is. I hope so anyway, but hopefully it's not too hot, but it shouldn't be too bad. But we head out on Monday and like I said, running 26 dogs. I got a number of them going for titles and too bad Peach can't go, but she'd have a good shot to pass that maybe in the spring. So we'll see what happens there.
So you'll train the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th.
With we'll train we'll train with Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we'll start running on Saturday. So, but yeah, we're headed down to Eric Tizon's Show Me Retrievers. He's hooking us all up down there because he's a local from down there, so he's kind of hooking us
that's
up.
where you're doing your pre-training.
Yeah, that's where we're doing all of our pre-training.
Oh, nice, wonderful.
Yeah. So he gets a deal with us. So good, lucky him.
Well, I'm sure that there will be some trash talking going on
Oh,
between the two of you as usual.
It's going to be bad. And it's our normal group. It's all the same people and same dogs and
yeah,
a lot of newer dogs. But it's our same group of people with a couple extras added in there. But we're going to give it a shot and see what happens. And then it's hunting season. Our hunting season starts here pretty soon. I'll be gone when it starts. So
when does it? See, what zone are you guys in?
I don't even, High Plains, is that right?
So what time? When do you guys open up? Do you guys open up that last 24th or 26th?
Probably. I honestly, I don't even know. Do we open up the 20? I don't even know. If we open up the 26th, I'll be home for that.
Well, I know there is the zone that I can hunt. I've got a place in Nebraska about an hour and a half from me that has water this year, and I'm telling you, I'm gonna kill so many mallards out of that hole, and it opens up you gotta jump through hoops to get to this place. You got to take a big boat ride, and then you got to portage in a mile, and I've worked hard. I'm telling you, I'm gonna kill so many mallards at this place. Anyway, that opens up the 26th.
That sounds miserable.
No, it doesn't sound miserable at all. As a
gonna
public land hunter, that's what I look for. It's like, how hard of a place does it take to get in there? And it's like, that's better because then it's just mine.
I'm going to drive to the blind, get out, walk 10 feet, unload my gun in the bag, drive my truck, park it, walk back, and get in and make breakfast.
Yeah, well, us lowly public land hunters gotta work for it, man.
You do it on purpose. You like to be a public land guy. I do. You get off on it. I'm over it.
Honestly, if I'm not sweating, it's not quite as satisfying. If I haven't sweated and been like, man, this sucks. If I haven't said,
when you come up for between Christmas and New Year's to hunt with me, we'll make sure we turn the heat up really, really high underneath you so you sweat. You'll make it feel better that way, like you're really doing something.
Well, I'll tell you what, unless I have another heart attack, it's happening. I'm coming this year.
Yeah, well, the first one didn't get you, so the second one probably not gonna. You'll be fine.
Even if I have it, I'm gonna say, wife, listen,
you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
That will be fun. Fun.
Any more Master Nationals like that, I'm gonna have a heart attack. I won't make it back. So yeah, but it is what it is. But we're getting ready to head to the Grand and see what happens there. So I put a thing on Facebook today about Grand questions. Should we try to work on some of those?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see what we got.
Got something else.
No, let's do it. Let's go ahead and start this off right now. So these are questions that were posted just from today on the Facebook group. Again, go over and join that. First one comes from Russ Kindig. When was the last time the Grand was hosted by Gateway HRC? It was
2020. Somebody came on there and answered that.
Okay,
so that was 2020.
How'd you do in 2020?
Honestly, I don't remember. He could probably tell me. He's a client of mine. He's a geeky nerd banker who has this Excel sheet that he has all the dogs on there and what series they went to, and who passed what, and he's got this whole Excel spreadsheet thing he does. And
that sounds like my kind of guy.
He's such a nerd. I mean, it's so bad. Like when the Grand gets ready to start, he always sends me a picture of his computer, his notebooks, his Excel sheet. He's ready to go. There's color coordinated. I mean, it's unbelievable, actually. But
see, that's exactly how I was with my duck hunts, and I turned it into that app. I had the same thing. I had all these spreadsheets, color coordinated. So yeah, Russ, you're my kind of guy.
No, you guys are geeks. You guys are geeks. But
anything else about that one? Are there any challenges here?
I don't know how I did there. I remember a series down there had a really nasty 3 down the shore in the 4 series, but I don't remember my pass rate for down there. One of the parts of his questions was, are the challenges here that you don't see in the Southeast Grands, like in the South? Honestly,
so where is that located?
We're just right outside of St. Louis. We're going to be right outside of St. Louis.
Oh, okay. So this is the same one. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. And lots of them are down south, but the challenges are all about the same no matter where you go. Obviously, the water's a little bit different. We're going to Bush, and Bush doesn't have a whole lot of technical water or anything like that. It's got technical aspects in the water, but all the challenges are about the same because the site coordinators at the Grand, they put cover in your way and, pull down trees and limbs and all kinds of stuff. So they make the grounds just challenging enough. If they don't think the grounds are enough challenge, they make them more challenging. So I don't see if any challenges are any different from there to down south. But a lot less fried stuff up farther up north you run. Everything's fried. So
What do you mean by that as far as
food?
Oh,
food. A lot less fried food up north.
Yeah. Taking it from someone at Kansas City, St. Louis food sucks compared to us. All right. At what point training do you really start hiding gunner stations as good as grand judges do, if you do at all? And this is from Steve Kelly.
Well, Steve Kelly, if you've ever been to my place, which I know you haven't, we don't have any trees. So everything's big, wide open country where we're at, and we can't hide anything. We can't really brush anything up. There's no tree. I mean, we have trees, but nothing like they do down south. Down south, there's trees everywhere. We don't have that here. So there's really no way to hide anything. Now, I will tell you what we do is I train in hay bales a lot. And so we hide everything behind a hay bale if we can and do it. But we don't have a way to really brush up blinds where they're completely hidden in tree lines and stuff. So, but we always every time we train, we always use holding blinds or hay bales or something like that. But a true hidden gun, it's impossible for us to do because we just don't have that here. I don't have that luxury.
Next one is Ty Johnson. He's wondering what the pros and cons are for amateurs running a dog at the Grand, looking at it with the perspective of pros that have successful Grand records over the years, experience, training group, cost, etc. Pros and cons for an amateur.
Yeah, the Grand is whether people want to believe it or not, it is mostly a pro event. It's just most of us pros have most of the dogs, and I'll be quite honest with you, it's cheaper for a pro to run an amateur's dog than an amateur to run their own dog, because their expenses are split evenly and that sort of thing. But the biggest, I guess, con for an amateur running his own dog in the Grand is this: unless you're a really, really experienced amateur and have ran multiple Grands, most amateurs have one or two dogs, and that's the only bullet you have. Unless you're a really experienced handler, you don't know what to expect. You don't know the standard, that sort of thing, unless you've been there a lot. Our buddy Jason, he's been there a bunch. He's done a really good job with his dogs. Amber does a great job with her dogs. They're all amateurs, but they've been there a lot, and they train in successful training groups. And that's the biggest thing is if I was an AM going into the Grand, I would try to get in with a successful training group that can help you, with the Grand setups and what they look like and what they expect and how they're holding you to that standard and get in that training environment as a training group so it looks like a test. The Grand, I don't know the figures on it, but I'll bet you the amateur pass rate for the Grand is in the single digits. I would almost put money on that because the pass rate for the pros is, high teens, 20%. Now it used to be lower than that, but I'll bet you right now, I'll bet you the amateur pass rate is in the single digits. If I was to guess,
that's
just
crazy.
Because it's such a hard game. And like you said, you got one or two bullets and you run the wrong part of the day, you get the bad wind, bad sunlight, and you're out. And you just can't control those things. And it takes a lot of Grand experience to be successful at the Grand. You've got to go to the line a lot. And it's a huge learning curve. Because the Grand tests don't look anything like a weekend test. They're much different, much bigger test usually. And they hide the guns so well. God dang it. They're so good at it. And so it's a hard, the Grand for an amateur is a very difficult task, but it's not undoable by no means. We'll have two or three amateurs in our training group and hopefully they do well and, we'll go from there. But it's a hard game for an amateur for sure.
Yeah, I remember one time you said you don't need luck, but you can't have bad luck.
Yeah, you just can't have any bad luck, and it's
right.
And it's just a hard thing not to have bad luck, especially running a bunch of dogs. But here's the thing that's different for the amateur than the pro. Like myself, I got 26 dogs going, and I'm going to the line in the first series 26 times. So after the first 2 or 3 dogs, I've learned the test. And I know where the falls are at. And I know where all the booby traps are at. And an amateur that has 1 or 2 dogs, you don't learn anything about the test. I mean, You can ask us all you want. Hey, we'll help you. Don't go here. Make sure you stay on your blind right here. Just put your whistle here. But until you're up there at the line, you don't understand that. And when you got 1 or 2 bullets, you make one little bobble because you didn't expect, them. You lose sight of them on this little part or that little part. Then you're out. And when you've been to the line multiple times, like I will or whoever else will, you learn all those booby traps of the test. An amateur doesn't. That's what's really, really difficult for an amateur. That it's hard to learn the test. And plus nerves. Nerves are going to play a humongous part of an amateur at the Grand. Nerves. I've seen nerves get the best of good pros and let alone amateurs. So unless you can control your nerves, the nerves really get in your way. Make you make bad decisions.
With 26 dogs, is it a challenge for yourself to stay mentally sharp because that's so many dogs to be running? I would think somewhere in there, it would be hard not to just slip up mentally.
It is so difficult to mentally stay in the game. Like at the national or any national event, it's so hard to stay in the game because I'll start running at the very beginning of the day and I'll end it at the very last dog of the day usually. And it's to stay in, and I'll be running every 5th dog all day long with no breaks.
Right. It's just
go
dog.
And so it's just go. And once you run, you say you have a bad run with one dog, you've got to be able to put that away and compartmentalize that and just throw it, just put it away because the next dog's coming up. And if you're thinking about the last dog not doing well, or you're too excited that your last dog did well, that you lose focus on the next dog, then it just all goes to hell. But
the thing I find so remarkable, and you told me that you did this before, because I mean, like with my one dog, I know exactly how she's going to react. You've got 26 dogs that you have to remember the nuances of and how they behave. And I believe you told me that you pretty much just remember it all without notes.
I do. So I put notes in my notebook in my phone, and I used to write down what they all did every single series, like a detail on a notebook, but I don't have time for that now. So I put everything in my notes, but I'll look in my notes and I'll say flash turns to the right. I mean, it'll have which way, and I review that every time I go to a line. Okay, let's just say
little reminders.
Yeah, just a little reminder, and let's just say, Pearl, she's in the right lead, she turns right. She's in the left lead, she turns left. That's all in the notes, so I know what I'm getting into before I go to the line. But you're right, to mentally stay in the game that long, that many days in a row is it's so exhausting. And then you're up at your bitch check is usually 6 a.m. So you're up at 4 to go air the dogs, drive to the test, get there, do bitch check, do the briefing, run dogs all day. When that's over, you got to go get something to eat. Then you got to go feed the dogs, air the dogs, and you're in bed at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock every night.
Man, that's it. Oh, wow.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. Yeah. And, you got clients calling you, how did it go? And I just don't. I go, when like I said, when I run that, as soon as their dog is done running, when I'm walking to the truck to get my next dog, I'll text them and say, hey, Ruger did good. He should have 2s. Ruger did good. On to the second series. And then when I say that, and I always tell my clients, but no conversations. I don't want any I don't have time to answer questions.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it on the way home, but I let everybody know right away so that, because I know people are on pins and needles and the Russ needs to get his stuff in his Excel sheet. So I let them know right away what happens. And I just kind of go from there, but it's not a much fun as far as joking around and laughing and messing around. There's no time for that,
Yeah. I bet not.
Everybody's on pins and needles anyway. So,
all right. Let's move on to the next one. Cody Grisanti, outside of normal training with the Grand Master National as the always end goal, are there certain drills or change in training you do in the weeks and months leading up to the national events that are typically outside of your normal training or standard?
There's nothing. I know Cody real well. He's a great dude. But there's really nothing I do differently, I guess you would say, leading up to that. I think I may start cracking down a little bit more on obedience and line manners and healing to the line, that sort of thing. And right before I go to the Grand, I try to really. I don't shoot a lot of poppers in training. Like you used to, everybody shoots poppers in HRC tests. I don't shoot a lot of those. I will like in a few days leading up to it. But right now, I'm just sitting down with a wooden gun, and I'm running a lot of singles. I'm doing some double doubles. I'm trying to get the dogs refocused back on HRC stuff because most of these dogs run AKC all year long, and I'm getting them to look down the barrel of a gun to a hidden gun behind like a hay bale. So I'm trying to get them to look a little bit longer first because at the Grand, it's really hard to see them long birds with the tree line background. And I do have a tree row that's around my place, so I can throw it marks, with tree background. But I'm really trying to get them dogs to look down a gun barrel to where I need them to focus on. And I won't throw that mark until they're looking where I need them to look. So, some people call it like eye discipline. You need to look down the barrel, look where I'm pointing, and don't guess where the mark's coming out at. That's a big deal. And I do a lot of signals that way. They just have to look down there and run straight. And, and then if I do a double, maybe I make a big, long, right to left swing or left to right swing. I try to do that, short, long, short on the marks with some swinging and some moving around. And just really focus it on line manners and, a lot of the details that go by the wayside when you run AKC, because, they're not cracking down so much is on, healing the line and stuff. So now I'm cracking down on that a little bit, tighten all the little details up, just tighten them all up.
All right. Turner asks, with the Grand pushing 1,000 dogs, do you think it would ever come back to Chiraw, South Carolina, H. Cooper Black?
Yeah, that's Chiraw. That's right outside. That's Rhett Riddle's backyard. I'm sure it will, Turner. There's no doubt in my mind it'll be back to Chiraw. But that all depends on the host clubs, the local host clubs too, because a lot of that stuff falls on them to do, and that's a big undertaking for a local club. But I hope it does. I like that play. I like Chiraw a lot. It's a nice event, and it's really good grounds. That's right there where Riddle lives. So
why do they only have? I mean, North America is a large place. Why do they only have one Grand with 1,000 dogs instead of breaking it into regions, like to space it out?
I don't know the answer to that. But here's the thing: it's the Grand has 1,000 dogs in it, but we still done in 5 days.
Yeah,
I mean, they just add more flights. I'm glad they don't do regional ones because I think that here's the problem with it is if you had regional Grands, that's 2 a year. So now you're putting on, let's just say there's 2 regions. Now you're going to put on 4 a year when that's double the manpower. That would be a huge undertaking as far as that goes. I think we're going to end up, when it comes to the Grand and or the Master National, I think it's going to come down to we're only going to have these events in 4 or 5 different places in the entire country, and that's it. And it's going to rotate. Yeah. There's very few places that can handle that. That can handle it. And Chiraw is one of them that can handle it. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, to handle 1,000 dogs in a day, that's got to be a unique place.
And my hat's off to the Grand Committee and Tracy Stubbs. Them guys, they worked their butt off. I can't even explain to you how hard they work. And they're, in the Grand, and this is something the Master National could learn from the Grand is time management and organizational skills, because it took us forever to run these dogs. We started on Monday and we were done on Tuesday. Like it took forever. I mean, the following week, the Grand's done in 5 days and has just as many dogs. So right. The Grand does an amazing job of organizational skills and time management. that sort of thing. They have it down to a science.
Do they care that it's pretty much a professional thing? Because the way it's set up now, it's like for an amateur even to get that much time off work is just almost impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they care. Well, here's the deal about the Master National. The Master National is I think 80% of the dogs are handled by pros.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Master National has a Master National Amateur that the pros can't run in. So when amateurs have their own game now, they can not play the Master National. They can just go be with the amateurs or play the Master National Amateur, which is, good for them if they want to do that. The Grand is everybody's thrown in there. And it's just a pro-driven sport. That's the nature of the beast because, like you said, a lot of people can't get off of work. So what they do, they put their dog with a pro. And so it's not only, the pros bringing lots of dogs, it's the amateurs have to set them with the pros. They can't get off of work. So it's not, they want to be there. They just can't. I mean, in order to do the Grand right, you should pre-train for 4 or 5 days in a row, then run the Grand for 4, which is 5 days long. So now you're looking at 10 days or 2 weeks of travel time. If that's how you really want to do it, that's how you should do it to be successful. If you're going to be an amateur and or a pro, and you're going to show up on Friday and try to run that thing on Saturday after traveling, good luck. Your odds are really, really low. You need to get there earlier. Get your dogs acclimated to the smells and the humidity and the sights and sounds, and that's a big deal. And to just show up and run it, it's very, very difficult to do. So it's hard for everybody to get off that much time off. It's a hard thing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, this is a long one. Joe Will, he says he's a first time he's going to the Grand. You hear the term the Grand Standard. What does the Grand Standard look like compared to a weekend test? Obviously, everything is tighter. Proceed directly to area of fall. Blinds have to be super tight, and obedience has to be spot on. But what does that all look like exactly? More specifically, line manners. In weekend tests, if a dog creeps inside the gun barrel, it's acceptable. Is that acceptable at the Grand? Being vocal from the blind to the bucket, maybe a whimper whine, but once the test starts, completely silent. Is that Grand acceptable? These are all hypothetical situations, but just trying to gauge what the standard is.
Well, when you go to a test, when you go to, like, say, go to a weekend test is, some of the dogs that run the Grand or have Grand titles, you see them at the test and you see it and you're like, wow, that dog's got it. And then you see the young ones coming up there a little bit more loose. I hate the word Grand Standard or Grand Control. I can't stand that. That's going to be beat down in your mouth for a week and it's going to drive you crazy. But when you see a Grand Standard, when you don't see a Grand Standard. The Grand is a little bit more user-friendly when it comes to letting your dog move around and creep and reposition and maybe make a little bit of noise. The biggest thing about the Grand is it can't be excessive. Nothing can be excessive. So let's just say, on a weekend hunt test, when you're heeling to the bucket, you can stop as you're walking to the bucket. You can stop and get your dog back under heel, getting back under control, and then walk. You can stop 2 or 3 times, heel, and then get to the bucket and you're fine. At the Grand, when you come out of the holding blind and you say heel, you need to walk to the line without stopping. If you stop and re-heel your dog, you got to go back three dogs.
Really?
Yes. They say you are cheating their test. If you stop and say heel, George, you heel, and you stop when you're walking, you got to go back 3 dogs.
Oh, I'm out.
And then if you do that again, you go back 3 dogs, and you do that again, you're out.
Wow.
You haven't even got to the bucket yet.
Right.
So that's the Grand Standard. So everything tightens up. Proceed directly to the area of the fall. I wish they'd take that out of the rule book because that's people have beat that to it like a dead horse too. But you know what a Grand Standard looks like. You'll see it. The dog that walks to the line with you obediently under control without excessive voice commands or excessive vocalization. Anything in excess is you're out. Too many commands, you're out. If you creep too much, you're out. If you're too vocal, you're out. So everything has got to be within moderation, not excessive.
Right.
They will let your dog move around the line. Now that depends on from judge to judge. Everybody's different when it comes to it. Some judges let your dog move a little bit more than others. Some don't. As long as your dog doesn't get out past the gun barrel, you're probably okay. Now I will tell you one thing that that they do is this is just at the Grand is this. And let's just say your dog, you get up there, you blow a duck call, and you shoot your first mark. If your dog creeps forward 1 or 2 feet, and your dog is moving forward, creeping, and you tell it to sit or heel as your dog is moving forward, you're out. Because they consider that a controlled break. There's no controlled breaks at the Grand. So if your dog's moving forward, just let it move forward, and hopefully it stops on its own. And then once it stops, you can say heel or here and get it to move. But if your dog's moving forward and you stop that forward movement, you're out. They consider it a control break.
You have to wait till it actually stops.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of little details in there.
So there's a lot of nuances that are specific only to the Grand.
Correct. Very specific.
Yeah.
So, and that's a big one. And I really wouldn't worry so much about, line manners. I mean, everybody harps on them and that sort of thing. You know what a Grand Standard looks like, and you know when your dog's out of control and it's too much creeping, and you feel discombobulated at the line, like you're trying to call and shoot and heel, and dog's moving, and you're heel, and you're being too loud. You know what that feels like, and it doesn't feel good. That's not the Grand Standard. A Grand Standard is usually I wouldn't say methodical, but smooth. Like a good Grand Handler, there's a bunch of them out there, but a good Grand Handler up there looks smooth. Right. Even if it's going bad, you can't tell because they don't get discombobulated, they don't get rattled, they don't get frazzled. They look smooth, and if you look smooth and your dog, say, is moving a little bit more than you would like it to, but you're smooth and you're not overly excessive on commands, you may not even get judged down on it. But if you're a guy that goes, heel, sit, here, heel, and you're running around like you're having a seizure and you're drawing attention to yourself, that looks bad. So it's probably worse than it'll even look. So then you may get judged a little bit differently, if that all makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, just be smooth. Don't give them anything to judge.
All right, we got 2 more. Grant Hatch asks, are you happy to have a new set of judges for each series?
I would have at the Master National, yes. But this is not the Master National. But it all depends, Grant. Usually I really enjoy keeping the same set of judges. Like the Master National, the judges follow you to each different test. You have the same judges the entire time. At the Grand, when you go into the banded water set test, it's the same. Those 2 judges stay at that test. Purina Land, those 2 judges stay at that test for the entire time. So there's a couple good things and bad things about it. So if you're at the Master National and you've got a really good rapport with the judges and you guys are getting along and everything's going well and they're being very fair and they're in it for the dog, they get to see your dog's whole work. They get to see everything that your dog did for 8 days, right? And so sometimes your dog will get the benefit of the doubt if it has a little bit of a rough series, but he had 3 or 4 great series before that. They're like, yeah, that dog's had an unbelievable Master National, and that's acceptable. You'll be okay, and because they've seen the entire work of your dog. At the Grand, they're only seeing that little snippet, 3 to 9 minutes long, that little snippet of your dog. They've not seen the entire work. So they're judging just that little snippet. And sometimes that's hard to do because you might be in the 4 series of the Grand and you may have pinned every single mark and lined every single blind for 3 series. And then your dog has a little bit of a handle on a mark and a rough blind. They drop you. You're out. But they didn't see how great your dog was for 3 series.
Right.
They just see it for that little snippet. So honestly, it all depends on who your judges are, if they follow you or not. I prefer them to kind of follow us around a little bit than just showing up and and having the same judges, at the same test all the time. That's hard to do because they, like I said, they see a snippet of what your dog is actually capable of.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just hard. It's just there's pros and cons to each one of them.
All right, last one. Adam Wood asks, what can a spectator do to be a good spectator in the eyes of the handlers, club, and judges at the Grand? Be
quiet. Hopefully you can see the test, because some tests at the Grand you can't see very well, because the Grand, they're there first to run dogs. That's their number one priority, is to run dogs and give them really good, challenging, quality tests. The gallery that they can watch the test, they're not so worried about, because why would you be? You're there to put on the best test you can. And if there's no place for a good place for the gallery, there's no good place for the gallery. That's just that's just what happens. And that's too bad. But to be a good spectator, honestly, is don't wear light clothing, wear darker clothing or camo. Be respectful, be quiet. You'll see some pros there. People, they're really working hard and trying to get their dogs ready and trying to, get in the right frame of mind to run their dog. And people that come up and just ask you random questions like, hey, what'd you think of that run? Or, hey, what about that mark? We're not trying to be rude, but we have to pass the next dog.
Yeah. So
that's very hard. And with people who see me at the Grand, they probably think I'm super rude, but I'm there to pass dogs. I'm not there to kiss babies and shake hands and that sort of thing. So I get very focused on what I'm doing. Not that I'm trying to be rude, or any of us are trying to be rude, but we have a lot of pressure on us. So a good spectator is just, stay out of the way and enjoy your time there. And if a guy, comes up and says hi to you, talk to him and maybe ask them some questions or that sort of thing and go from there.
All right. Well, we got through all the Grand questions. We've got a bunch of other questions we can hit on, some of those on the next podcast, but
yeah, let's do that.
I think those were good. Those were some of those were a lot different, because we kind of go through this where we do Grand questions each time it comes up. And I felt like some of those were new and fresh.
Yeah. And then let's see. Yeah. There was another one. There was one in here that, let's see here.
I thought I hit all the Grand ones.
You did, but Cody's question. I had something for Cody's question. What do I do leading up to? One thing, Cody, I do a lot of. I throw birds every day, in our training setups. But one thing I noticed, at the Master National on water, I'll throw a lot of ATBs and rubber ducks on water, just because I don't want to ruin $400 worth of birds in a day. But I will tell you, some of our water series especially the third series. It was the third series. It was a water test, and it had a bunch of reentries in it. And a couple of my dogs got hung up in drag back on the reentry marks, because I don't use a lot of birds on water, and my place is all reentries. And so they're not used to that drag back scent and all the reentries. So leading up to this Grand, I've thrown nothing but birds. I spent 2 days in the water. I've gone through 50 birds in 2 days, trying to, getting that drag back in the water and that sort of thing. So I would, if you don't throw a lot of birds in your training, I would highly, highly, highly recommend throwing birds in training, getting ready for the Grand. You gotta get used to that drag back. They've got to get used to that. And I made that mistake maybe going into the Master National. So I got a couple of my dogs on the drag back that I didn't think we were going to get them, but I guess that's from using rubber on the water test. So,
right.
Well, that's it.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and sign this one off. All
right.
We will be back with another episode very soon. Until next time, you've listened to the Flatlander Kennels Podcast with Chris Jahman.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Everybody at the line. Take that aim. Gotta strike this chord with the humble hearts, bearing heavy chains and blue collar scars.